Look around. The rules are breaking everywhere. Democracies are sliding into authoritarianism. Institutions people once trusted are rotting from the inside. Technology is rewriting what it even means to be human. We're told we can do anything, be anything, but so many people feel trapped, exhausted, and left behind. That's what a crisis of legitimacy looks like. That's what a crisis of meaning looks like. Here's one way to think about it. Life is like a game. A game has three things: a board, rules, and a story. The board is the world that we play on or play in. The rules tell us what are legitimate moves. And the story is how our lives hang together into something worth playing. Right now, all three are breaking at once. The board is fractured, the rules no longer hold, and the story makes no sense. The question is, how do you live once the game itself has collapsed? Why think about life as a game? Because a game unites three concepts that are important for meaning: structure, normativity, and narrative. The structure of the game is the board or the arena, plus the players on it. At any point, you can describe the state of the board, the players on it, their relationships to one another, to the starting point, and to the end goal. Normativity is the rules of gameplay. A bishop can move anywhere on the board or off the board structurally, but the rules only allow it to move on the board diagonally. Structures bind us no matter what, but rules only bind us so long as we recognize and follow them. Narrative is the arc of play. It's the stories we tell ourselves and one another about shutouts, comebacks, strategies that worked or failed. Most of the meaning we perceive in life comes from these stories: tragic, comic, heroic, redemptive. But narrative only makes sense against a backdrop of structure and rules. Not all games are the same. Some are finite, fixed rules, clear outcomes, played to win. A single chess match is like this. Others are infinite. Rules shift to keep the play going. There are no clear winners or losers, only people who are ahead or behind. Being a chess player belongs to this second category. You can win a finite game by ignoring or breaking the rules. You can rearrange the chessboard when no one is looking. You can use bad faith arguments to win a debate. But over time, your reputation collapses. People stop playing with you. The more serious a player they are, the less they want to do with you, and so you don't get to develop as a player. Play only continues when structure, rules, and narrative remain intact and united with one another. Thinking of life as a game also keeps us from thinking about the world as just a pile of objects. I'm not a detached mind surveying stuff. I'm a player or an agent perceiving possibilities of action. A glass of water isn't hydrogen and oxygen. It's a move to quench thirst. A book isn't cellulose. It's a move to satisfy curiosity. And the deeper we get into play, the more our minds dynamically serve up strategy. In flow, the sense of being a separate observer falls away, as does our awareness of time. Which brings us back to the problem. What happens when this structure of play breaks down? By the way, if you're enjoying this video and want to go deeper into the subject matter, consider supporting me through Patreon. The videos skim the surface, but there's going to be content up there each month that goes deeper. You can find a link to participate in the description for this video. We can think about meaning breaking down in three ways: structural, functional, and developmental. Structural breakdowns happen in the relationship between the player and the board itself. Imagine a game of chess where the rook weighs 700 pounds, or the queen sprays acid at you when you try to touch it. That's absurd. The form of the game undermines agency. Life can feel the same way. Science paints a picture of reality as purely mechanistic, and yet human beings have evolved to expect purpose. We're like players of an absurd chess game, forced to make moves in a world that does not support meaning. Structural breakdowns also happen when we become disillusioned, not with a single match, but maybe with the whole game. Maybe I wake up in the morning filled with dread about my choice to be a chess player. Or maybe I worry that the league is so corrupt that the activity loses coherence. In life, that's the moment when our belonging in the world or in our community is shaken at its root. Functional breakdowns happen in the player, in the way that our minds self-organize around the game. When play is good, possibilities flow. We respond, create problems for our opponents, open possibilities for our friends. We're not overthinking or underthinking, we're in the game. But play can glitch. We get stuck in loops of self-deception, continually making moves that don't deliver what we want. We fall into self-destructive cycles like addiction, or we identify with the wrong things. Talent versus skill, status rather than growth, with the result that we lose motivation when we fail. Even self-reflection, which can free us from bias, can also freeze us in place when it becomes imbalanced. Developmental breakdowns happen when you can't move between games. You're disillusioned with chess, with your job, with your city, even with your marriage, but you feel trapped. Fear of loss keeps you from transforming. This raises deeper questions. Is one game really better than another? If I switch cities or careers, what guarantees I won't experience the same disillusionment again? Does it make sense to speak of progress for an individual, for a civilization? We can usually talk coherently about playing a particular game, but is there a game of games that tells us which games are worth playing? History is full of exemplary players who sat down and thought of the structure, the rules, and the strategies for play in their times. Lao Tzu, Buddha, Plato, Augustine, Hegel, they described what ultimate reality was like, the rules governing it, and how best to live your life in light of that information. Today, we hunger for figures like that. A few years back, people were flocking to Jordan Peterson because he said with confidence, here's how the world is. Here's how you ought to be. The cognitive scientist John Vervaeke is engaged in a similar project, I think a lot more sophisticated and less emotional. He's trying to use cognitive science to fit us back into reality. At the other end of the spectrum, political demagogues and cult leaders are attempting something similar but in a darker way, scapegoating others, making their followers dependent. But here's my hypothesis. Right now, there can be no Lao Tzu or Augustine. No politically unifying figures either, like a Roosevelt or an Eisenhower. Anyone trying to step into that role today is more likely to polarize people further. It's not because people today are somehow less intelligent or less dedicated. It's also not because of individual moral failing or lack of goodness. None of those historical figures I mentioned invented their games from scratch. They came at the end of long historical developments. They turned, reflected, and articulated the game that everyone already agreed was being played. The reason we don't have unifying voices now is simple. There is no unifying game. Reality itself is fractured. Structurally, we live with absurdity, horror, and alienation. Functionally, we're plagued by addictions, either to substances or processes. Algorithms create reality bubbles for each of us that paralyze reflection. Developmentally, the games don't connect. Science and political populism war with one another. Philosophy and everyday life rarely meet. That's why nobody can describe the game of games right now. The board is shattered, the rules conflict, and the stories don't add up. The collapse of meaning isn't just the loss of a story. It's not just the loss of community or conversation or spirituality either. And it's not happening because people today are somehow uniquely stupid or cruel. On the whole, people are as decent and cooperative as ever. The fracturing is coming from somewhere else. Game boards don't just materialize out of thin air. They're created, maintained, and reshaped by larger forces. Economic, political, technological. And those forces have changed radically in the last century. So here's the good news. This fractured, collapsing state that we're in can't go on forever. And here's the bad news. It can't go on forever. What will likely end it will be something that most people wouldn't wish for on a good day. Something most of us spend our lives guarding against. And that's what we'll talk about next time.